Cool.
Yes.
So Linda will press the record button then. All right.
Yes, it's on.
It's on. Great. Okay. In that case, welcome everyone to this webinar with the title "How to Transform Regular Service Management Workflows into Great Customer Experiences." And it is a webinar that will be that is basically the joint efforts of ServiceNow platformation, and we're also very proud to have our customer Unit 4 join in as well. During the webinar, a couple of guidelines. Please mute your lines when you're not speaking to reduce any background noise. And of course, if you have questions, then please use the Q&A feature to just list those questions. There is going to be room at the end of the session to also then go into those questions. But for now, just keep them coming so that we have something also to discuss at the end. Short introductions. So, as said, my name is Elmer de Valk. I am the CEO at the Formation Group, consisting of platformation and app formation. A background from Accenture in the area of IT strategy and transformation. A proud resident of Utrecht, and I always joke about the fact that when I drink 2 beers, that in my mind I think I'm a semi-professional dancer, and that my wife tends to disagree. But anyways, we have with us Maarten from Unit 4. Maarten, could you also give
Yeah. Good morning. So Maarten Beekman, I joined Unit 4 about 4 years ago. I'm an IT director there, reporting into the CIO. I'm married, live in Amsterdam, and one of my hobbies is kite surfing, and I recently discovered you can do that in the snow as well. So that's snow kiting. Oh, wow. So if you're not familiar with that, it's quite interesting.
Maybe we should add a little bit of a video next time when you're on stage, what that looks like. I was actually also looking at the similarities. Of course, Maarten and myself, we know each other also from, let's say, our past history at Accenture. So that's funny. And apparently, we also noticed that we like to work for companies with a 4 in it, and we have something with snowboarding. So apparently, there are some similarities there. Anyways, continuing to the agenda. So, well, we've already done point number 1. So a quick introduction of the speakers. I'll bring you, I'll take you through a story about customer experiences specifically for tech companies, but I would actually rephrase that specifically for digital companies. Then, of course, we'll give the floor to Maarten to give his perspective on the journey that Unit 4 has been on with ServiceNow, with platformation, and to share lessons learned and key findings, at the approach, the results, and of course the lessons learned. And in the end, as said before, we'll also do a little bit of Q&A. So if any questions pop up, then please put them in the Q&A session of Zoom. What will you learn? So how can companies realize an excellent customer experience? That's something that I will dive into in a minute. And then Maarten will take it away and discuss the approach that Unit 4 did to achieve that great customer experience. And also will inform you with some lessons learned that he picked up along the way. A little bit, of course, about platformation. I can't help myself to do a little bit of PR in this sense. So for those of you that don't know us, so in a nutshell, we are a dedicated ServiceNow partner. So it's basically the only thing that we do and think and dream about always. We have a global presence. So our headquarters is in Utrecht, the Netherlands, but we also have offices in Belgium, Germany, the US, and India. And we're very proud that last March that we were awarded the EMEA Partner of the Year award. So apparently we're doing some things right in the area of ServiceNow. What do we do? Basically 3 things. Of course, we provide advice to our customers, strategic advice on what to do, what kind of outcomes and objectives can be met with ServiceNow. We implement the different modules, and we also offer what we call elite DevOps services. So it's basically managed services. So going into the subject, as said also in the agenda slide, it's all about digital companies providing great experiences, and yeah, why invest in doing that? Well, maybe to focus also on that word digital just for a second. Digital, every company, of course, is becoming a digital company, right? So when you used to sell cars, you're now probably going to become more in the business of selling mobility, right? So we see that there's a big trend in a lot of different industry verticals that more and more you're delivering services instead of products. And of course, those services are highly IT dependent. So I think that the phrase "every business is a digital business," which was coined by Accenture at the time, was true when I worked there, let's say 7-8 years ago, and I think it is even more true in these days. And if you look at, let's say, what really matters is that for those companies that are moving into digital, for those companies to truly succeed, it's not really about the company that is first to the market necessarily with a new product or with a new service, but it's all about, let's say, trying to scale that. And having great and efficient customer workflows is really the means to achieve that end, to achieve that scaling while providing great experiences. So it's really a matter of business sustainability and staying ahead of the competition to invest in customer service. And doing so, just to give a little bit of background from a numbers perspective. What research tells us is that it takes on average an investment of $5 compared to 1 when you are comparing acquiring a new customer versus keeping a customer. It's kind of a farmer's wisdom, as we say in the Netherlands, but let's say a common truth to understand that keeping your customers is in fact cheaper than acquiring new ones. And keeping customers is all about customer service. And if you do that well, if you have the let's say the means and let's say the possibility to increase that with even small percentages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% increases in customer satisfaction, this has a huge impact on your bottom line profitability. So customer service eats marketing for breakfast, and I know that there's a couple of people from the marketing departments in this webinar, but this is what it is. However, customer service, it is a team sport. It is really about multiple departments working together in order to provide that great customer experience. And what we see is specifically when companies grow, silos tend to tower. Silos, of course, inherent in the word means that that information does not flow freely from one tower to the other, and it basically leaves customers let's say unhappy as a result of that. So this is a key thing, and I think that Maarten later on will also get back to this theme, because it is something that is really prevalent at a lot of companies. So what does that lead to? That disconnected world, it leads to the fact that that in a lot of cases customers report that it takes more than 7 attempts to get an issue solved. So 90% of the customers indicate that this is true. Another thing is that customers feel that in a lot of times they are not satisfied by the actual response that they get from when contacting a customer service agent or via a channel, because actually what 40% of the customers lack is that they don't have a great portal or digital experience to get, let's say, access to customer service. So there's really a lot to gain, and just to make that a little bit more explicit in a couple of percentages, a lot to gain, because on the other hand, if people don't get that great service immediately, then 92% of customers will stop purchasing if they have had a bad customer experience for, let's say, 3 times or more. So people will actually leave, and that actually ties back into the fact that keeping a customer is a lot cheaper and acquiring a new one is a lot more expensive. So you don't want your customer leaving, and they will if they don't, if they're not served in the right way. Well, 71% want to also have a consistent experience across different channels, of course. So think of mobile, but also think of web, and of course sending an email or doing a phone call. And only 29% of them actually receive that kind of consistency. The last, no, you can go in here for the background noise, then that's great. The last point is that people are actually also willing to pay more when they receive great customer experiences. So it's an important and topic for a lot of business, and also in this post-COVID-19 world, I think that importance has increased dramatically because again, a lot of companies are going to digital. So where does ServiceNow then step into this field? So it's all about connecting the different silos and ensuring that work flows freely through the enterprise. And so there's a couple of modules that then come into play: the modules for IT service management, IT operations management, and the customer service management. But it's not that they need to be implemented, let's say, as separate islands within your organizations. It all needs to be interconnected. Of course, it's also about improving the employee experience in that perspective, because if you want to improve your customer experience, it's also essential that your employees also have the ability to easily communicate with each other. And so the employee experience is actually a key enabler to also increase your customer experience. And of course, if you increase your customer experience, the outcomes that you want to be after are faster resolution times, a user experience that is simple and easy to understand, and of course easy access to resources like knowledge and all those kind of things. And in that playing field, in that arena, so to speak, ServiceNow plays an important role, but it's not, of course, that ServiceNow is the only technology that is out there. Of course, in that realm, there's also Salesforce that is typically used for CRM. You also see Microsoft Dynamics pop up. You see Adobe and a lot of other, let's say, tools in the marketing world. So think of HubSpot and those kind of things. And in the operations, HR, and finance world, they also need to be connected, because if people are, for example, making an order, that then also needs to lead to an invoice that needs to be sent. And organizations or customers also could have questions about those invoices. And so it's very important to tie into your financial and legal and operational back ends as well. And we see SAP popping up, but of course also our guest speaker, Unit 4, has got great solutions in those areas. And then if you are able to connect those different silos on that single platform, what does that look like? There's a video in the end, and I'll save that for after this, for after Martin has gotten through his story. This is a picture of what we implemented at Unit 4 specifically, but it basically is a graphical overview of what it looks like when all these different workflows are indeed interconnected. And what you can see in this graph, without going into too much detail, is that CSM, so the customer service management modules of ServiceNow, It's basically there to allow customers an omni-channel way to interact with a company, so via different channels, and they can then raise a case, for example, that something is wrong, and that case can then be a result of something that goes wrong within an IT system, and then it can actually be moved to that cloud operations or that IT operations world by creating an incident. And that is basically the reactive flow. And actually, honestly, that is actually not the flow that you want to actually have being, let's say, triggered a lot of times. Actually, you would like to have the flow running exactly the other way around. We all know that things can go wrong. But if you are in a situation that you are responding to those situations only when customers notice and give you a trigger that, hey, I cannot consume my service, then you're actually not providing that great experience. And so it should work actually the other way around. So that means that if something is wrong with a certain technical service, if there is an alert, that should trigger an incident. And from that incident, actually a case needs to be created. And from that, a proactive communication needs to be sent to the relevant customers to say, hey, we know that there's something wrong with your service, we're on it, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to keep you in the loop and let you know once everything is resolved. This is the level of customer service that digital companies need to get through to avoid people to actually pick up the phone in the first place. And how to get there? We believe that start small. If you don't have anything in place to actually streamline your reactive flows, the flows from a customer all the way to your operational teams, then you need to get that in place by implementing CSM and ITSM. You can then, let's say, extend that towards making the web and the mobile channels more informative by adding stuff like knowledge articles, knowledge resources, but also by applying virtual agent to allow people to be helped without incurring a cost on your service desk. And then you can get more into the responsive area, where it means that if people, customers want to order something, for example, or have a specific request, that you will try to automate the request fulfillment as much as possible to ensure that you are extremely responsive to the needs of your customers and that it does not take weeks in order for a service request to become fulfilled. And then you will get into that proactive phase where you actually are tying in with your IT background and getting to the scenario that I've just described, that if something fails in your IT operations, that you automatically start to inform your customers. And of course, there is also the holy grail, the preventive scenario, where based on alerts from your IT systems, you're actually able to trigger automations that will actually prevent the issue from occurring in the first place. And you have to think about AI ops and those kind of technologies to allow your services to run at 100% availability and reliability levels. So this is the, let's say, the normal way, I would say, to get from A to B and to C and D and E. However, there's also different approaches, and I think that is maybe the right time to actually go to Maarten, because Maarten, whereas let's say I've just explained a more, let's say, phased approach to get, let's say, to that end state, Unit 4 thought, well, why don't we just try to combine everything in one go? So could you maybe tell us a little bit more about what you did?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and the approach itself. Let me first do a bit of an introduction. So Unit 4 is has been around for quite some time. We were founded in the 80s, and currently, we were listed on the stock exchange. We're currently private equity owned. We have about 2,500 employees operating in about 25 countries. And basically, we're a software company, and we're transforming our business from a, let's say, traditional software company to a SaaS future-proof company. And yeah, this step is and implementing ServiceNow is part of that journey. So if you want to go to the next slide, yeah. So linking to what you said, and I like the slide with all the skyscrapers next to each other with the different silos. That's indeed a bit where we come from. So let me, if you want to go to the next one. So the challenges that we were facing was indeed these silos, where we have a customer support department focusing on customer tickets, being quite reactive, working in one application to serve them. And then we had a separate department, which is our what we call our cloud operations or IT department, trying to fix the issues that the customer had. So, but they were working in also a separate application, and you can have silos in a company, and yeah, I think really breaking those silos is very difficult, because you will probably always have them. But if you also have departments working in separate applications, then it's even more difficult to break these silos. And that is one of the reasons why we wanted to implement ServiceNow, and replacing both of these applications and making sure that our customer support department as well as our IT department were working on the same platform. So yeah, to the second point here, too many tools. It's not only those two tools, but we also had some siloed tools and some, let's say, hidden IT or whatever you want to call it, where we were serving some customers for some products in a different tool. So harmonizing and simplifying the way and standardizing the way across these tools was one of the key objectives here. To the third point, what also happened, especially on the customer support end, is that we had a heavily customized solution. So basically, and I think that was mainly driven by the products that we are selling. Products determined a little bit of a different way of working, and then so you don't only have the silos in customer support, but within customer support, you also tend to have silos depending on the product that you deliver to the customer. So those were the key challenges. And if you go to the next slide, please, yeah. Then our objectives are, because this is a bit of an internal focus, our objectives is to overcome those challenges and then to be able to deliver a much better customer experience. So the customer, obviously, and you mentioned some points there already, where some customers might need 7 tries to fix one of their cases. I don't know the numbers at Unit 4, but I'm sure we also had similar customers where it took them quite some time to resolve their problems. So by removing these silos and by making sure we collaborate much more internally, the objective is obviously to improve our customer experience, to have and also to provide more self-service to our customers, where they can just go to a service catalog, request things, and we can automate at the back end as well. Then secondly here is improving the employee experience. So yeah, again, this is the internal focus. Collaboration is clear, I think, and breaking those silos, but it's also to simplify the work processes. What I typically saw, and not only within Unit 4, but also in other companies that I've seen, is IT tends to work, for example, in an ITIL way, if you're lucky. And the ITIL framework is determining how the IT department works. but then working with a customer support department with no ITIL background, there's a language barrier there as well, where there's a cultural difference where a problem to customer support means something very different than a problem to IT. I'll not go into those details. And one of the things here, and the quote here below is, and I'll get to a bit more detail in the next slides, but one of the approaches that we've taken to reach these objectives is to take a standardized approach, and by actually using those ITIL framework standard processes instead of configuring the solution as we did in the past. And yeah, I cannot stress enough how important this particular approach is.
Yeah, and it's actually hard work, because it seems like, okay, out of the box is maybe the easy way to do it. You just activate it, but actually staying out of the box is actually sometimes a difficult thing to do, right? In all those.
Definitely, and one of the first questions that we had was, okay, but what's in the box?
Right, exactly.
So it sounds too good to be true to do stuff out of the box, and the challenge with platforms such as ServiceNow, but any other platform, is that technology is always able to solve your issues, because these tools are very flexible and can be configured in any way. You can script things, you can overcome or whatever you want to call it. You can configure it differently than the application had intended it to be built.
Yeah.
And that is something you need to be consciously, or you need to be cognizant of the fact that you're configuring and you're building the next customized solution, and you'll end up in a similar place where we were at the start of the project, by having a heavily customized solution.
Yep.
So if you want to go to the,
yep.
yeah. So then the question on why ServiceNow, and I think this was not a long discussion at Unit 4. Obviously, ServiceNow has a proven track record. They're at the top leader quadrant of Gartner. So but I have to say, and I've seen ServiceNow quite some years ago, but then they didn't adopt the ITIL framework yet. There was a limited focus on the whole IT service management part and the ITOM part, but I think they've really caught up with the fact, and the latest release, or the latest couple of releases, have really adopted those frameworks. So basically, we didn't want to spend a lot of time to compare solutions, also because if you compare solutions, the thing you do is you look at your own requirements and you try to see which application meets your requirements. And the whole thought process was, no, we're not going to try to have the solution meet our requirements. We're going to look at the solution that has best practices, that has a decent framework that we trust, and then we are going to adopt our own process.
I think it's a very bold move by Unit 4 to actually take that approach. Indeed, like I think a lot of traditional companies, they just indeed follow that normal RFP process and indeed do it exactly like, hey, what do we have now and what do we want, let's say, also for the future. And indeed to say, hey, we're not going to look too much at as is, but we're going to go for to be, and we're going to, let's say, adopt an industry lead to actually drive that. I think that's an extremely bold move. And because I'm actually participating in a lot of RFPs, I would wish that a lot more companies would take this approach. But
yeah, and I have to say that I agree. It was a very bold move, and I think the boldness was supported by our CIO, who really truly believes in this and was able to convince our leadership team. Yeah. Without his support, it would have been a different story. Yeah. Then yeah, experience. If you go back to the previous one, well, basically, our leadership had quite some experience already with ServiceNow in previous companies, so that's also one extra reason to go for ServiceNow. Yeah. So then, yeah, what worked well? So we went live 2 weeks ago with an MVP, with a minimum viable product. Closely collaborating with Platformation and ServiceNow. Yeah, what went well? I think the experience that was brought in by both companies was excellent. I mean, Platformation does this for a living, so they brought in the right people, and but then again, and I'll stress this a few times in this presentation, the challenge is really to continue to have that out of the box implementation. And what you tend to see also with implementation partners is they try to be as customer centric as possible. So also Platformation is trying to help us as much as possible. And if we say this solution doesn't do it for us because we work differently and can't we change it? It's very tempting for Platformation to also say, sure, yeah, technically everything is possible. And to be honest, that answer, I've heard that answer a few times in the meetings also with Platformation. But at the very beginning of the project, we agreed a few principles, and one of the principles was the out-of-the-box solution. And you need to be aware of this out-of-the-box principle in every single meeting, because the devil is in the detail here. And a lot of these customizations can creep in easily because someone, even the developers somewhere, they can think, okay, we can easily adjust it, and then we can meet the customer requirements or the employee requirements. So that has been one of the challenges, but I think we did a very good job there. One of the things that Platformation did here is also to bring in predefined user stories, so out of the box user stories, which was very important to us. Because you can, if you start with a clean sheet and you start with your own requirements, that's a different story than saying, okay, this is how ServiceNow works, and these are the out of the box processes. And by just putting these user stories on the backlog, we were able to stick to those. Obviously, we also had our own requirements that we brought in, and a lot of them were met by the out of the box user stories. But it's very good to have a set like that.
Yeah, so back to the point, Martin. So staying out of the box, it is really hard work. And it's really a team effort. And if it is, and these kind of principles are not adopted by senior leaders such as yourself, then yeah, you run the risk of over customizing and actually setting yourself up for future failure. So it's really it's such an important principle. So I think it's that you highlight.
Yeah, and then right before the go live, the ServiceNow architect had a look at our instance, and he described the state of the instance as excellent. So there were very minimal customizations done, which I think is a great compliment to the team and to everyone involved in this. The speed was very aggressive. We were given the challenge also by our leadership to do this in 90 days. And this is also because our leadership come from different companies, and they've seen in different companies that these projects can take months, but they can take years. And basically because it's also difficult to jump into that deep end by changing your current application into and moving to a new platform. So that top-down support is really important to have. And yeah, we did it in 90 days. You can only do this in 90 days with a minimum viable product. And what we did is we took a selection of customers. We did take the most important customers actually. So not only a POC or a proof of concept for some customers, but we did take our most important customers and move them and migrated them to ServiceNow.
Now, how many of those are there? How many customers, Maarten?
So about 1,000 accounts we migrated to ServiceNow. Yeah. And that's if you look at the these are mainly our cloud customers, and we have a lot of customers also with on-prem solutions that we're actually transforming to the SaaS world, and that will be the second wave of migration. Yeah, and once again, customer oriented. Once again, the out-of-the-box approach. Cannot stress enough how important this is to achieve this in 90 days. Otherwise, this cannot be done, in my opinion. So yeah, implemented in 90 days. The customization, as I said, the architect said the instance is in an excellent state. We did an upgrade from New York to Orlando about 1 week before go live, and as I was also running this as a project manager, this was quite a daunting task, because it's you don't want to do an upgrade and a week before go live. But since our instance was so clean, we had quite some confidence that this could work. So we had quite a smooth upgrade, which only took us maybe a couple of days or less, and then we were able to go live about 5 days later. Impact to the customer, obviously our objectives, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentations, are clear, but it's too early to tell to really see the impact on the customers. And let's be honest, customers don't like change. Not many people do like change. So the first noise we had, or the first responses we had in the first 2 weeks after go live are obviously also negative, and that's what you expect. But this is also and you can send communication whatever you want. You can have promotional videos, you can write blogs, you can take them by the hand, and but you will always have these types of cases where a customer is not very happy. But this is collateral damage, I would say, and we were aware of this, that this would be happening, this would be coming our way, and I'm sure that in the coming months our customers will see the difference, because we're also offering new features to them. We're offering a service catalog where they can easily request services from us that they weren't able to do in the previous years.
If you put those, let's say, those comments from customers into perspective, so you have 1,000 customers. If you look at, let's say, the volume of let's say, of comments that came in, how would you classify that?
It's well, not every customer is that vocal, of course, but the vocal customers that we've heard about, maybe 10, something like that.
Right.
And also our partners that we work with, so our implementation partners also had some comments. But yeah, it's all part of that transition. And
approach to actually move forward with that, or what has been done with that?
So obviously our most important customers, we sit down with them and we make sure that we explain the transition, that we explain why we've done this, and obviously there were a few tweaks that we still needed to do, because we had some issues after go live, but we were able to fix them quite quickly. But those sessions with the customer, and really given them some dedicated time, they were really well received, and we plan to have a few more of those sessions.
Yep.
Yeah, next steps include the realization of the business value assessment that we've done. So yeah, obviously the business case to go to ServiceNow has a lot to do with the customer retention and making sure we deliver a better experience to our customers, etc. And we will be tracking that business case in the coming months, but also in the coming years, because this is something that you need to keep an eye on, and really to see whether that's all due to the fact that we moved to a different platform it's hard to tell. Those are more the intangible benefits, but still, I think it's fair to say that we have quite some expectations here, and with the capabilities of ServiceNow, I'm sure we can really meet these objectives.
Yep.
So lessons learned. One of the things that we encountered is that when you move to a platform like ServiceNow, this is never a standalone platform. Your platform needs to be integrated with other applications that are in your landscape. Now, really making sure that these integrations work and that we understand where data is being mastered is quite a challenging job. So you definitely definitely need to involve your data architects early in the project. And make sure that they understand what is coming their way and how these integrations will work. But I think we did a good job there. The data migration there was a bit of a more painful exercise, to be honest. When you move only your IT ticketing system to a new application, you could say, okay, we just move some open cases or open incidents, and for audit purposes, you keep the old application, etc. But and this is an internal application, but if you move your customer support application and you migrate to a new application, you need to make sure that the customers will have the same transparency of the history of their tickets, their cases, etc., that they continue to be able to see all that history. So you need to migrate some of this to a new platform. And when you come from a heavily customized platform, you cannot migrate all these details and attachments and all that very easily to the new tool. So this took some more time than expected. And brought quite some challenges. And I think in the aftercare that we're in currently, most of the issues we have are more related to data migration than they are to the actual processes.
Yeah, I think that you're totally right, Martin. So I think everyone that has ever done an IT project knows that this particular topic is always where it starts to hurt a little bit, because on the fact of you're trying to map a data set with a certain structure into another structure. So that whole process is inherently difficult. And so I think your guidance is very relevant here. Don't underestimate this. And, dedicate the time required to get this right, because indeed this will bite you in the behind the go live when it's not done right. So yeah. Yeah,
and lastly, the governance. Again, not only the governance. Not only the approach that we had on the out-of-the-box approach, but also to make sure that let me put it differently. So governance, how do you actually stay out of the box? Because this is easier said than done. What we did is actually we had 2 solution architects who were involved in the in the whole implementation. One from ServiceNow and one from Platformation, because we just wanted to make sure, and we actually had to invest a little extra in this, but we wanted to make sure that a solution architect is happy with the design and with the way you're implementing ServiceNow. So having these people in your whatever governance you have in a steerco or however you want to do that is crucial. And having their blessing for the customizations that you might have is very important. So yeah, that's how we've done it.
I totally agree with that. I think that what project world or implementation world is coming through. I think that on average, I think in general we do a great job implementing ServiceNow with our customers. But that collaboration also with the ServiceNow success architects. So I think it's always good to basically separate, let's say the executive or the delivery world from the QA world. It's very important that there's a neutral quality assurance person on board to ensure that that nothing is overlooked. And I think that this is exactly where ServiceNow and Platformation are joining forces to provide that end-to-end service to our customers.
Yeah, and one additional thing here to mention is that our governance was, because it's different. You cannot manage this as an IT project in isolation. So the governance and the steerco that we had was a combination of the heads of our customer support department, head of our cloud ops and IT department, head of professional services, etc. Because you need these guys to support the solution. And also in the teams that we had in our daily stand-ups from the beginning, we had customer support and cloud and our IT department working closely together, because that's the approach that we've taken to really take an end-to-end implementation of ServiceNow, where it starts with customer support, and then it's eventually being picked up by IT and perhaps by R&D, etc. But this needs to be an end-to-end process, and since these people were more or less in their silos, we needed to break those silos from the beginning of the project. So we put them in one room from the beginning, and also in the governance itself.
Yeah, so maybe looking specifically at how you did it, right? Because I've basically also shown the slide that typically if we support customers in this area, we like to take them on a journey that is, let's say, more gradual. I think that Unit 4 took a rather different approach in the sense that you bit off a rather big chunk immediately with right away implementing discovery, IT operations management functionality, and the IT service management functionality, and the customer service management functionality, to actually fast forward immediately to be able to provide preventive customer support, or proactive. So maybe reflecting on those two approaches, would you recommend other customers to actually also be bold and to go directly to that step?
To be honest, I think it's the only way, because otherwise, if you take a different approach, you'll again make the same mistake and start with the siloed approach. And by looking at the process as an end-to-end process and having the whole process covered by a single tool or a single platform is what we went for.
Yeah, it's actually a success criteria in that sense. So I'll reword my slide then to make it align with yours. Okay. I don't know who was moderating it, but are there any additional questions that came up during the session that we might want to step in? I don't know, Kirtan or Linda, whether there's anything that you can moderate.
Yes, there's one question. I also sent it to you, Elmer. This is an agile customer experience. You have negative and positive feedback, learn, change, and go on. The ultimate feedback loop. Did you have multidisciplinary teams during the process? That's the question.
So yeah, I'm not sure if I entirely understand the question, but yes, we did have multidisciplinary teams. So yeah, as I said, we had customer support and IT and professional services and R&D working together in one team. And yeah, I think that's again, that's crucial to have to be able to implement an end-to-end process.
Yep. Maybe another question that that also popped up. So, looking at upcoming phases, Maarten, what is your plan? How do you want to continue the journey?
So, obviously, the biggest step that we'll take is to migrate the remaining customers to ServiceNow. I would say technically we're ready because we've built the solution so that it can also accept the other customers. But this is more of a, let's say, we went live with the MVP. So try to get some of the let's say child diseases out of the solution. Make sure that everyone feels comfortable with the new way of working. The reports, for example, are currently are adjusted. The situation that we're now in with having some customers on the new platform and still some other customers on the old platform is obviously not desirable. So we want to have this period of time as short as possible and try to migrate that as soon as possible. And then the next step is to change more, indeed, what you showed on the slide in terms of the steps in maturity, to move from a reactive mode more to a proactive mode, where IT is able, with the ServiceNow Discovery, is able to see where issues are happening and basically alerting customers before something happens. That really sounds too good to be true, but that is something that we see as a step in the near future.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, and in terms of let's say showing what that could look like, so I actually already skipped a slide, but I will actually move back to that. So just to highlight that a little bit. And so again, so if you look at the blueprint, it's basically depicted here, but there's actually a more detailed view that I will also get further into in a second. But what you want is that if something goes wrong inside your data center, that you're actually proactively communicating about this with your customers. And we've actually already also created a small 1-minute video clip to also give a little bit more perspective and insights in what that actually looks like in a real customer case. So let me see if I can bring that up. It's a 1-minute video. Yeah, it shows you, in fact, that when an alert comes up in a data center, how is that actually then moved into a case? What does that look like from let's say, proactively communicating to a customer? And we also included a couple of, let's say, elements to also show the mobile capabilities, because yeah, in the world that we are in today, not everyone wants to sit behind their laptop all day. So a lot of stuff is actually going to mobile. So we're just gonna have a look and So this was a little bit of a promotion video, but it does show, I think, the end-to-end flow quite well. And I think specifically also looking at the mobile capabilities of ServiceNow that also include virtual agent, and of course the ability to do voice to text and natural language understanding capabilities. I think it is an extremely powerful element to that ServiceNow brings to the table to basically ensure that customers are optimally served. Whilst of course lowering your cost to serve. So I think it's a very powerful message. Back to the let's say wrapping actually up this webinar. I think first of all, Maarten, thanks a lot for participating and contributing with your thoughts and your experiences. I think that for the people that has joined, I think it was a very interesting story to hear. I would say that the key takeaways are that it is indeed very important to connect those silos. And I think that the point that Maarten made back to the second key takeaway is that, it's out of the box, out of the box, out of the box, out of the box. You cannot say that enough, and it's really so essential to do it. But getting there is really hard work. Because you really need to convince, let's say, everyone that out of the box will work, and that is just a tricky thing, or let's say an important thing to do, and it takes time. Of course, another key takeaway is it is also not just a team sport to deliver great customer experiences, but it's also a team sport to deliver great projects. And I think that the project at Unit 4, where Unit 4 stepped in, where ServiceNow stepped in the form of a success architect, and where of course we as Platformation also did our part. I think that is the magic formula to achieve those project goals, and to ensure that you can go live with an end-to-end solution in 90 days. One of the things that I would like to point out as a last thought is that if you want to go out of the box, it's really essential that you know exactly what the different modules of ServiceNow provide, and also how they are connected. And in order to support that, we've actually created a reference architecture, a customer workflow reference architecture. Our designer, our graphic designer, is let's say completing it as we speak, and this will actually be promoted in the coming days to basically advise customers to how to use ServiceNow in the right way, and not to go to a customization, because if you don't know what out of the box is, then this reference architecture will basically guide you to ensure that you will know and that you will use the right elements of the product. So that will come. If you want to have any information about that, this webinar, or anything else, you can contact us, of course, via info@platformation.com. You can also, of course, contact us if you would like to have a more detailed demo of what the system could look like end to end. And we hope that you enjoyed this webinar, and we hope to see you another time. So thanks a lot, and stay safe.